I'm at McDonald's in Mumbai catching up with Akshay Jatia, who finished one full year as the CEO of Westlife Foodworld. So many changes that have happened over the last 1 year. Akshay is telling us what else is there in the pipeline going forward. First of all, congratulations on completing one full year as as your first term as the CEO of Westlife Foodworld, and I can see so many changes in terms of introduction of healthier options at McDonald's. Of course, there is the millet bun, there is a protein slice which is there at McDonald's that you get when you walk into any of the outlets. So tell us more, Akshay, what were the highlights of the past 1 year according to you?
Thank you so much. And, I can't even believe 1 year has passed. You've actually reminded me that it's been 1 year because it's gone by so fast because of, the amount we've been working, the way we've been executing the vision that I had put together. So I think, most importantly, we've been focusing on the business. And I think that as time goes by, the outcomes will follow. I think over the last 1 year, we've focused a lot in terms of doing what's right for the customer and making sure that our brand keeps improving its connect with the customers. So whether it's more wholesome, nutritious options, engagement with communities and sport, or even a lot of the digital initiatives we've been doing, I think everything has been focused on making sure the consumer comes to our restaurants and then comes back more often. So I think that's what most of the year has been, and I've really enjoyed working on all the inputs because I'm confident that when we work with so much passion and focus, the outcomes of growing the business and the brand will only follow.
Right. Akshay, under your leadership, one significant change that I have seen at McDonald's is that there is a clear pivot towards, becoming like a food tech player rather than, just like a QSR chain that McDonald's was. So how has that panned out so far? And I believe 70% of your revenue comes from, people ordering from the McDonald's app. So tell us more about that.
So thank you for noticing that because that's been one of our biggest, pivots and our biggest focus areas for growth, which is again being digitally relevant and digitally forward, because that is where the customer is today. So offering them those options, whether it's on mobile apps or within our restaurants, has been a core part of our transformation. And I think we've been implementing it over a period of time. It's actually the first area that I focused on when I joined the business now over a decade ago. But I think it's post-COVID when people really started noticing the need for this. But we were already ready.
Right.
So not only do we have this digital infrastructure in our restaurants, a lot of our orders have moved to these self-order kiosks, but also we've really focused on our mobile apps, which is making sure that consumers get a seamless experience while interacting with the brand on their mobiles too, because that's where most customers are. And it's an omni-channel experience. So I think by doing this, like you said, we've moved towards close to 70% of digital sales, but also we've made customers notice that we are a digitally forward brand. And I think they're really loving this. We've seen a great improvement in our frequency, and I think it's just the beginning.
Yeah, and we live in a world where, the data is the currency, and, this is like the first party data, consumer data that you're getting. What are some of the trends that have emerged out of, like consumers using the McDonald's app that surprised you, Akshay, over the past 1 year?
So one is we have this large cohort of users who are extremely loyal digitally. And it surprised me in a way that I always thought, our app was not very well known. Our brand was always struggling on the digital front. But as we started making this the focus of understanding customers, using data to understand customers and then intervene appropriately, especially over the last year, I think I've become more of a fan of this strategy, and I've become more focused on this strategy because we underappreciate some of our efforts. And this has positively surprised me because these super users, as we call them, are really loving the digital experience. And we have to understand those codes and then intervene in small ways. And I think it'll take the business forward miles ahead.
Right. And I read somewhere it's 47 million downloads that you got for the McDonald's app. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right? Is that
Correct. So
actually
that's
right?
the total downloads, and I think our monthly active users, if you combine both our McDonald's app as well as our e-commerce McDelivery app,
Right.
is I think close to around 5 million, which is extremely high.
Right.
And we keep breaking out that number in terms of growth, but I think this is a milestone that I heard about recently,
Right.
and it's more comparable to even the more new age food tech or new age digital brands, which makes me very proud in terms of where we've reached in regards to our digital journey.
Yeah, and so having said that, how do you describe the consumer of McDonald's today? Can you define the consumer? Can you paint us a picture? And how is this consumer, this Indian consumer, eating at McDonald's? What are they ordering?
So I think that's a great question, and it's something we think about very often lately, so I can kind of take a shot at this. I think the McDonald's consumer spans across age groups. Obviously, our larger cohort would still be between the ages of 18 to 40. And I think whether it's an 18-year-old or even a 35-year-old, closer to my age, I think all of us are very digitally savvy. And I think, digital is now native to us. That's how we transact. And I think that's where we're present. But at the same time, physical infrastructure allows you to relate to a brand. And I think when I hear about all these new age, cloud kitchens or food tech brands, I think I look at us, and our biggest competitive advantage is that we're omni-channel. The fact that we have close to 500 locations, I think gives us a significant competitive advantage in this environment. And the customer is actually looking for a mix of these experiences, coming back to the customer. And I think they are constantly looking for trends. They're looking to, post their activities. They are aspirational, which means that their activities should be shareable on Instagram, social media, and their peer sets actually kind of look up to their behavior as a result of that. So I think that would remain true for a consumer of McDonald's. And I think that's a lot of the work that we're currently doing.
Right, right. Any innovation that has come out of, some of the consumer feedback that you've got through their interaction with the app? Because I've seen so many innovations happen over the past 1 year. Any striking innovation that has come out from the feedback, from some interaction with the consumer on the app?
So, we were just coincidentally talking about this before we started, right? And I think it's a really good opportunity for me to talk about this. And that's the fact that we're a very strong beverage brand as well. While we sell burgers, I think one of the insights we got is that our McCafe offering is actually very well appreciated. We got this through consumer speaks, we got this through consumer data. And what we did is we then understood that this is something that has to become a daily habit. And how can we do that? It's by engaging with customers. So we very recently launched a subscription program which allows you to buy 10 coffees at a particular price. Which
I'm a big fan of that, I must tell you. I have subscribed to that thrice, Akshay.
No, thank you. And, we really appreciate customers like yourself, and we're very proud to serve customers like yourself, which is why this offering is extremely important to us. And the idea is that we offer it on a digital platform because that's where consumers really interact, and that's where they kind of transact in terms of habits. And what that means is that when they're looking for loyalty programs, subscription plans, they immediately go on their phone and they look within the brand's digital platform whether such things are available. And that's why we launched this offering. And it was through all this consumer inciting that we did. And we've been very pleasantly surprised with the reception and the outcomes that we've seen. Consumers are buying this program. Consumers are actually transacting at the higher end when they buy this program. And it's allowing us to make our beverage platform into a daily habit.
Right, right. That's your take on loyalty. And also, I have seen some of the affordability options also, apart from this 10 coffees for about $5.49. There are several other offers that are there, which are great offers, like, add-ons for 20 rupees, or even like 2 coffees for, $1.99 kind of different offers. So how is this affordability play also keeping the customers hooked on the app?
So the idea is, very attuned to affordability, and it's to make sure that we continue to offer value for money. Luckily, because of the fact that we've been running supply chain within the country for the last 30 years. In fact, this is the year where we approach 30 years of operations, and we're very proud that we've built this ecosystem along with us. Westlife Foodworld has not only built McDonald's, we've also built this whole QSR and food ecosystem, which has allowed us to take advantage of economies of scale, and as a result, offer such offerings at scale at affordable prices. So it comes across as very strong value for money, like you've indicated. And it's not only about the coffee program, right? It's about all these, promotions, as we call them, which allow us to offer value for money as well as stay engaged with our customers.
Right. Akshay, since you mentioned 30 years of McDonald's in India, and I remember one of the first stores which was opened in Bandra, and as a kid in school, I was very excited to visit a McDonald's outlet right in my city. But having said that, what has been the highlight of this 30-year-old journey in the country? Is it, how you guys Indianize the menu for us and for our consumption?
So I think that's a very strong highlight. Like I just mentioned, I think building the supply chain for India, with India, has been one of our proudest achievements. In fact, not many people register this, but it's a well-known fact in the industry that everything is locally sourced. We work directly with the farmers and we process it at our processing center, which actually is a state-of-the-art facility. It's probably the only location where we can produce this type of food at scale with the quality that we offer. So I think this has also been another highlight. And lastly, the employment and the jobs that we've created, whether it's at the supply chain end or even our restaurants, where we now employ over 12,000 people. And I'm always very proud to say that, because that means that we are providing livelihoods as well as opportunities to such a large number or such a large part of the Indian population. And this will only grow as we continue to expand.
Right. And so what is your vision for the next decade, for the next 10 years of the McDonald's journey in the country?
So I think about this quite often, but it's very hard to put down because of how dynamic our industry and category is. But I think if I go back, to the vision at a high level, my hope is that we're able to continue to build the brand at a faster pace. We're able to take advantage of all our efficiencies, offer value for money at scale, and feed our population in the most nutritious, wholesome and affordable manner. And lastly, engage with communities, make our brand McDonald's as well as Westlife Foodworld, the preferred place to go when people are thinking of eating food. So I think digital is a platform to enable that. Again, something I'm very passionate about and is an anchor part of my vision. But I think these would be the two broad areas where if we are successful as a business, all the outcomes will follow.
So digital is big part. What about physical store openings? Are we going to see more store openings happening in the coming 6 months, by next year, by 2027? What is the vision for 2027?
Sure. I mean, and very great time to talk about this as we just started the financial year, and we'll be sharing more color, with all our stakeholders. But I think, store openings have been expanding over the last 3-4 years, especially post-COVID. And I think in the next couple of years, we'll be further amping this up. And our broader guidance is close to 600 restaurants by 2027. But I think in the next couple of years, we'll be bumping up our restaurant openings from around 50 currently net to closer to 60. So that's a significant, 20+% jump just in the matter of a year, where we'd already been increasing our openings from 25 to 35 to 50 now and moving to 60.
So by April 2027, there'll be 60 new McDonald's coming across the country.
Over this financial year. And I think by calendar year, end of calendar year 2027, we'll be within the broad guidelines of 580 to 630 restaurants, which is what we had shared back in 2022 as our vision.
Sure. Now 90% 90% of, McDonald's menu is Indianized. Going forward, what are those innovations that you guys are coming up with? If you can give us a sneak peek, what are you excited about? Because we saw millet bun introduced last year. We saw the protein slice introduced last year. Anything else coming up in the next few months?
So innovation is probably the most exciting part of my job, though, I always have to speak with the team that less is more, because McDonald's is all about delivering consistency at scale. But obviously innovations are very important because the world is changing and consumers are changing very fast today, right? So I think we'll continue to innovate like we always have. I think on the, real food, real good platform, as we call it, which makes sure that we provide wholesome, nutritious food, we'll continue to make strides. I think on beverages, we'll be offering some innovation in the coming year, especially on the protein side. I think in terms of our food options, our menu is very well anchored, but we'll continue to work on, more indulgent, bigger burgers, because I think that's still a gap where we can do better.
Right.
I think on the entry level, we've done exceptionally well over the last quarter, and that'll continue to drive a lot of customers to come to our restaurants. And lastly, I think on the digital front, we'll continue to innovate.
Right.
Because I think this is just the beginning. This world is extremely dynamic, and tech and digital are going to help us ride the wave.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Akshay. Thanks for joining us today. Congratulations on completing 1 year as the CEO of Westlife Foodworld and, of course, 30 years of McDonald's. Now, during the conversation with Akshay, we spoke about how he aims to transition McDonald's from a QSR chain to a food tech company. But let's take a look, deeper look, in fact, at the overall digitization in the India's QSR sector and how is it shifting from an advantage to a necessity, focused on better customer experience, first-party data, ownership, and also cost efficiency. Let's take a look. Now, first up, some of the key digital trends is what we are going to track. So what, happens is that when you have your own mobile apps, brands like Domino's and McDonald's and Chayo's are effectively building their own mobile apps for direct engagement, loyalty programs, repeat orders. And then, of course, there is a lot of AI and personalization that is happening for the QSR chains. Now, what this does is it brings smart recommendations, predictive menus, and also upselling, boost. It's a big boost and, to your average order value by almost 15 to 20%. And then, of course, there is an NFC table ordering. Tap to order via your phones also improves convenience and reduces chaos dependency, which is a thing when, you enter a McDonald's store or any other QSR chain. We see that the kiosks and the desks are really crowded. So this is what it does. And then there are certain customizations for your local language. Of course, there is vernacular and voice ordering, which uses a lot of regional languages, voice AI to simplify your ordering so that anyone walking into the store is not overwhelmed. And it is, of course, meant for the wider audiences. Then, of course, there is a gamification of loyalty rewards, and game-like features increase engagement that go beyond transactions. Now, there are certain operational tech trends as well, and of course, the ONDC integration. So what it does is that it reduces the reliance on apps and aggregators like Swiggy and like Zomato. So what happens is it brings in lower commission. Then there is, the IoT kitchens that, you can see smart sensors, they track food safety, energy use, and also inventory management happens real time. It's a great cost saver also for many of these restaurant chains. Now, there is digital drive-thrus. What are those digital drive-thrus? We have all done drive-thrus in a McDonald's. What happens actually in reality is that you get dynamic menus plus license plate recognition if you are a regular at a particular chain to enable faster personalization, because typically people have similar orders when they walk into QSR chains. And then finally, there are data-driven menus. So AI is used to optimize your pricing, your promotion. Like AI tracks, what is it that you order the most and then customizes promotions accordingly. It also helps the chains improve profits by almost 5 to 15%. And then what are some of the key factors that are driving some of these changes in QSR chains such as McDonald's? Of course, with phasing out of the third-party data, first-party data has become extremely critical. So there is a larger focus on the first-party data. Apps help brands control customer insights. McDonald's can get better customer insights and also help build greater relationships. Now, focus on many QSR chains, by the way, is also expansion to, towns beyond the major metros. So this also helps in expansion to tier 2, tier 3 cities. And then, digital tools also enable consistent experience in these smaller towns and cities which are beyond metros. And of course, there is a hyper-local and healthy option availability, a big trend right now. If you walk into McDonald's now as compared to like a decade ago, the kind of healthy options which are available, including the likes of millet buns and smoothies, are easily available in these restaurants. Even other QSR chains are adopting and adapting to this fitness and health trend. So faster adaptation also to regional tastes is, what some of these trends, have resulted into. And then, of course, automation growth. 51% of routine operations expected to be automated, in fact, in the next couple of years. Well, on that note, it is time for us to slip into a very short break on Brand Wars. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Brand Wars. Now, the 16th edition of IAA Olive Crown Awards 2026 was held in Mumbai, celebrating campaigns that put sustainability at the heart of storytelling. Leading the night were Chups Footwear and Into Creative, whose biodegradable world campaign picked up top honors, including Green Campaign and Brand of the Year. Other winners included The Hindu, Envision Energy, and The Art of Living, recognized for impactful work spanning environmental awareness and social change. The awards once again highlighted how advertising is evolving from selling products to shaping behavior and driving real-world impact. On the sidelines of the awards, my colleague Anurag Joshi caught up with Nitin Karkare, chairman of Ulka and executive director at Omnicom Advertising India. Listen in.
Big believer of the fact that industry recognition is, downstream benefit that you get from doing something. The real impact has to be with the consumer, because that's what our business is about. We don't start something with the idea of getting industry recognition. You start something which is being true to the brief that the client has given you, making the impact at the right place. And if while doing that you get industry recognition, that's always welcome. But industry recognition is never the starting point of anything.
Right. And now with regulations around environment claims, they're getting stricter globally and there is more scrutiny. And how are you helping your clients communicate genuine sustainability efforts without the fear of being called out for greenwashing?
Yeah. So the first thing that we always discuss with any client is that, is what we are trying to do authentic? Is the purpose of communicating something rooted in authenticity? And the minute you put that question on the table, all the other points that you have raised get answered. Because if it is not true, if it is not honest, if it's not authentic, you should not do it. Because you will be caught out. Whether it's greenwashing in this case or false claims in some other product sell case, consumers will catch on today. They are very well informed. Information is available at a click of a button. They can see through it.
Right.
So the starting point has to be authenticity.
Sure. We often focus on the end message in advertising. Are we now seeing a shift where brands are asking the advertisers, they're asking to help them audit, basically ad agencies are asking the advertisers to help them audit their entire production supply chain to find out whether there are any sustainability stories hidden right there?
So it's not happening at a large scale. There are some specific instances where it's happened. And we partner with the clients. Again, as I said, at the heart of everything that you do has to be authenticity. So you need to, go through the entire process, find out where things can be made better, where you can keep the environment front and center in the conversation, and wherever it's possible, we do that. But it's not happening at a very large scale right now, to be honest.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Brand Wars. Goodbye from me, Shubhani Gharat, and the entire team of ET Now.